What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 22 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got one pick wrong and got 22 right, which is a 97% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 97% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 97% win rate and get 22 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $660 just yesterday. Another member who won $249 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So I want to give a quick shout out to Way LMAO Sup for Real, who said let's get it done today, and also shouts out to also Queen Love 1003 who said let's cash. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is Brook Lopez for 10.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And this one is for less. Now, looking at Brook Lopez, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at someone like Brook Lopez, on April 11th, they did face off against New Orleans Pelicans, where he had a 5 PRA there. Then, next game after that, on April 12th, faced off against Detroit, where he had 23 PRA. Then a 13 PRA in Game 1 against Indiana on April 20th. April 23rd, Indiana had a 10 PRA. And then Game 3 had a 4 PRA on April 26th. Against obviously Indiana Pacers. So, you know, when it comes to this matchup, it's definitely been a very interesting matchup. As we all know, you know, Brook Lopez and the Milwaukee Bucks face off against none other than the Indiana Pacers coming into this game. Now, obviously, when we look at the series, it has definitely been an exciting series. However, the Pacers do lead 2-1. So, they do lead 2-1. They obviously are trying to get this win in order to try to tie things up. Looking at this series, it is the most evened out series, as Pacers did come in 4th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 50-32. They also had a 61% win percentage, and then they face off against the Bucks, and the Bucks do rank 5th with a 48-34 record, 58.5% win percentage there. So, they have done a great job. Now, both of these teams are definitely going to try to get the win. Brook Lopez's average over the last 5 is actually 11. But looking at this matchup, when we look at Indiana Pacers and where they do rank defensively, we do see Indiana Pacers do rank 11th in points allowed. They also rank when it comes to assists allowed. You know, they do actually rank 12th, and then rebounds allowed. We also do see the Pacers rank 13th. Now, when I mention these rankings, I do also want to mention, guys and girls, that when it comes to this ranking, we are looking at just the top 16 teams. So, you know, if you rank below 8 or below, you are pretty much in the bottom half. Okay, so we're just looking at the playoff teams now. But when we look at Indiana, yes, they do rank really low. However, the reason why we still do like the under for someone like Brook Lopez is that we definitely have seen his usage rate decrease as the games go on, due to the fact that players like Damian Lillard, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, are taking a lot more of the usage rate away from him. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Although Indiana do rank very low, Indiana do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the actual center position. So we definitely see someone like Brook Lopez going on the under here. Now, when we look at Brook Lopez, what we also do see is that when it comes to this matchup between Milwaukee and Indiana, coming into this next game, you know, we have seen Milwaukee actually focus a lot of their attention on other players in this roster to provide the offense. And, Brook Lopez hasn't really had a similar amount of usage rate that we usually do see. So it does seem Milwaukee are changing their game plan. They did most recently get a win, so we are probably expecting a similar game plan coming into this next one, especially due to the fact that, in the game where they did win, Brook Lopez only had a 4 PRA. So we should see a somewhat similar sort of outcome coming into this next one. Now, looking at actually Brook Lopez against the Pacers during the regular season, it's definitely been a little bit up and down, but we actually did see him do pretty well. Now, on the 22nd of November, he had 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. So he did go on the over on that one. On the 31st of December, had 16 points, 5 reps, and 3 assists. And then on the 11th of March, we actually saw him have 23 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. And then on the 15th, he had 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. So, when we actually look at it all in all, we definitely have seen Brook Lopez do, a great job. However, we think things are going to change. Like always mentioned, playoffs are a very, very different ball game. There's a lot of different strategies that get thrown each and other's ways. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for someone like Brook Lopez. So, for that reason, Brook Lopez, keep an eye out for his line. 10.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Ausar Thompson. So, as you all know, Ausar, great player for, the Detroit Pistons. And this one is a fantastic one for actually just straight up points. So this one's a good one because when we look at his points, we actually do see it sitting at 9.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Thompson, we actually have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those, 5 games, we definitely have seen an interesting stat line. On April 11th, they faced off against Knicks, where he had 3 points there. Then Milwaukee on April 12th had 11 points. Then in game 1, we actually saw him have 10 points against New York Knicks on April 20th. Had 5 points against Knicks in game 2 on April 22nd. And April 25th had 7 points in that game. So it's definitely been an interesting time for, Ausar Thompson, due to the fact that he has gone on the under not only in just 3 out of the last 5, but his average over the last 5 is also 7.2. So it's significantly been on the under. Now, coming into this next game, it's definitely going to be an exciting one. But what we have seen as well is that when we look at the games against New York Knicks, they've all actually been on the under. Now, one of them was on April 20. He did go on the over, but only made it over by 0.5. So not really convincing enough to us there. However, looking into the New York Knicks and this Detroit Pistons matchup, as we all know, we do see Detroit Pistons ranking 6th in the Eastern Conference during the regular season. Now, they did have a 44-38 record, so that's a 53.7% win percentage. So they did a fantastic job there, and they face off against the New York Knicks. Now, New York Knicks, another great, scenario, because the Knicks did come in 3rd with a record of 51-31. So they actually did a fantastic job there. And in that, part, we actually did see him do a fantastic job because we actually saw not only them be able to do very well, but especially due to their, kind of upset last season, they were able to turn things around. So for that reason, we do very much like, this situation here for someone like Ausar Thompson. We definitely see him in a very, very good, situation. But when we look at New York Knicks, what we have seen is New York Knicks, when it comes to points allowed, they do rank 10th. So they do rank 10th, a little bit on the lower side. However, when we look on a per position basis, we actually tend to see Thompson play that small forward position. And because of that, we do look on a per position basis, we do see that the New York Knicks do actually rank, very, very high at restricting points to the small forward position. So we definitely see someone like Ausar Thompson going on the under due to that situation. Now, when you also look further, we also do see is that when it comes to the Knicks and Detroit, both are very, very slow-paced teams. What we have seen time and time again is that when it comes to these two teams, we've actually seen it happen in pretty much all 3 games. It's been a very, very slow-paced game, which definitely leads to less volume. And the less volume that it has caused, it's definitely led to, Ausar Thompson not getting the same amount of usage rate that he usually does see, and the same amount of volume. And we definitely have seen that in all 3 games. Like, although he did go on the over in the first game, guys, he did only go over by 0.5. So not really convincing enough for us there. Now, looking at Ausar Thompson as well against, Knicks during the regular season, we saw them face off again on the 13th of January. And in that matchup, he had 11 points there. And then on the 10th of most recently of April, we actually saw him have 3 points in that matchup. So based off both, we've actually seen him actually go on the under in one of the games and then go over on the under. But coming into this next matchup, we should see him go on the under, especially with Ausar Thompson, who isn't really the highest scorer for this team. We should see other players have a lot more usage rate coming into this game. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the under for Ausar Thompson coming into this matchup. So Ausar Thompson, 9.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than actually, a great player, and that is Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith, another fantastic player from the LA Lakers, and this one's an interesting one because this one is actually for three-pointers. So this one is for three-pointers made for 1.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Dorian Finney-Smith, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at Dorian Finney-Smith, we have seen him on April 10th go up against Dallas, where he had 1 3-point made there. Then April 12th faced off against Houston, where he had 6 3-pointers made there. Then April 20th, game 1 against Minnesota, only had 1 3-pointer. Then 1 3-pointer again off a back-to-back in game 2 on April 23rd. And then moving on after that, in game 3 on April 26th, we saw him have 2 3-pointers made. So we actually have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. His average over the last 5 is 2.2, but that is a little bit interesting due to the fact that one of the reasons why it is so high is due to the 6 3-pointers he did make in that Houston game. And like I always mention with games like this, those games are more of outlier games. They really bring the line a little bit too high that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under in this one. And now looking at Dorian Finney-Smith and the matchup, LA Lakers do face off against Minnesota Timberwolves, as we all know. Now, when we look at this matchup, obviously Timberwolves are up in the series 2-1, so it's going to be a very interesting game. But what we do see is that when it comes to this matchup, Dorian Finney-Smith from LA Lakers and Minnesota, we do see LA coming in at 3rd in the regular season with a record of 50-32. So they had a 61% win percentage, which I thought was fantastic. And then on top of that, looking at the Timberwolves, they did have a 49-33 win to loss ratio and a 59.8% win percentage. So, they did a fantastic job there. Now, obviously, looking at both of these teams, what we do see is that when it actually comes to none other than Dorian Finney-Smith. Looking at Minnesota, we do see that when it comes to 3-point percentage allowed, Minnesota do rank 7th, so they rank pretty decently there. 3-point attempts allowed, they do actually rank 10th. And 3 points made allowed, we do see Minnesota rank 8th. So, they do rank pretty average, pretty mid-tier, but we definitely still see that being enough to see someone like Dorian Smith go on the under in this one. A big reason being is that when it comes to Minnesota, we actually have seen them do a pretty good job, especially against forwards, which is what Dorian Finney-Smith is. And we are also expecting a decrease in DFS's usage rate due to the fact of other stars in this LA Lakers team. So it's definitely an interesting one to us. When you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. And a big reason being is, because of the Lakers, sort of firepower that they do have in Austin Reeves, in Luka Doncic, and also in LeBron, we aren't really expecting that much volume from Dorian Finney-Smith coming into this game. Minnesota during the regular season also did a fantastic job against 3-pointers made, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next one, no doubt about it. Now looking at, DFS against Timberwolves this season, they only had played 1 game, and in that matchup, he only made 1 3-pointers made as well. And we definitely have seen in the playoff games that he hasn't really done so well from the 3-ball as well, only in one of those games, so we should see a similar outcome coming into this next one. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the under for someone like Dorian Finney-Smith when it comes to 3-pointers allowed. So Dorian Finney-Smith, 1.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, we all know how great Karl-Anthony Towns has been during this season, but looking at the regular season, we definitely have seen him be doing a fantastic job because he has been averaging 24.4 points, which I think is fantastic to see, 12.8 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and a 52.6% field goal percentage. So he's done a fantastic job for New York Knicks during the regular season, and we actually see him ranking 12th in points, 2nd in rebounds, 80th in assists, and also 19th in field goal percentage. So he has done a fantastic job for the New York Knicks, and when it comes to New York Knicks, they do have themselves a very good matchup against the Detroit Pistons. Now, as you all know, the series is, leading by New York Knicks. New York Knicks are up 2-1 right now, so they are looking to finalize and get this game on the road because, they are looking to try to end this as soon as possible. So once they win this one, they are looking to, seal the deal in the next one for sure. So Knicks are definitely going to come out in this game with a lot of motivation. But looking at this matchup, we do know that, between these two teams, we actually did see the Knicks during the regular season come in at 3rd in the Eastern Conference with a record of 51-31, so a 62% win percentage. And then on top of that, the Detroit Pistons came in, like we know, at 6th spot, 44-38 record. So, very, very interesting matchup because it's a 6th versus 3rd, but it's definitely going to be going down to the wire, or it has been going down to the wire in some of the games. So it's definitely been great there. But looking at the Detroit Pistons, we do see now, like I mentioned earlier, guys, this is off the 16 teams that did make it into the playoffs. So this is looking at the top 16. But we actually do see that the Detroit Pistons, when it comes to points allowed, we do see Detroit ranking 9th. In assists allowed, we see them rank 7th. And then in rebounds allowed, they also do rank a little bit better as they rank actually 2nd. So when it comes to someone like Karl-Anthony Towns, we do very much like the over for this situation here. However, I would focus a little bit more on points and assists in this one. A big reason being is that Detroit are a very, very good rebounding team. They've done a fantastic job at really restricting, rebounds, and especially have done a great job at restricting rebounds to this center position as well. So Karl-Anthony Towns has definitely struggled just a little bit in these games for sure. But we definitely should see it changing due to the fact that, when it comes to points and assists, his usage rate does remain very, very high, especially since Detroit don't really rank too well in those categories. So we can definitely see him being able to do very, very well in those two categories, but rebounds, I would probably stay away from. Now, looking at the most recent games actually against Detroit, like we mentioned, there has been 3 games already played. So they actually did also verse each other in the regular season, but we will just look at the playoffs as it has been, a little bit more current. But Detroit have done in game 1, they were able to restrict Karl-Anthony Towns to actually 11 rebounds. So he did actually go under compared to his averages or his line there. And then on top of that, we also do see points wise, he did have 23 points, went on the under in that one, and then 5 assists. So he did go over on that one. So, an interesting one there. Obviously, he just slightly went on the under in points, but we should see him be able to do a little bit better. Now, in game 2, he only had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 0 assists. So a very, very cold night for Karl-Anthony Towns, and those games are very expected, but he was able to turn it around and had 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 1 assist in game 3. Now, coming into this next one, we do very much like the over for someone like Karl-Anthony Towns. In the points and assists department, I do believe this has been enough games for someone like Karl-Anthony Towns to finally adjust to Detroit's defense and be able, to do very well in those categories. So for that reason, we do very much like the over for this one. So keep an eye out for Karl-Anthony Towns in the points and assists department. There could be a lot of value there to go on the over, especially if the line is under his averages. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Rudy Gobert. So, as you all know, Rudy Gobert has been playing fantastic, for the Minnesota Timberwolves. During the regular season, he actually averaged 12 points, 10.9 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and a 66.9% field goal percentage. So he did a fantastic job there. Now, he did actually rank 95th in points, 7th in rebounds, and then also assists. He did rank 143rd, and then 3rd in field goal percentage. So great job from Rudy Gobert. Now, Rudy and the Minnesota Timberwolves do face off against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, we all do know that, between both of these teams, they have done a really good job during the regular season. Now, Lakers actually came in at a great spot because they came third in the Western Conference, like we mentioned before, with a 50-32 record. And then on the other side of things, we also did see that, Timberwolves ranked 6th, so not too far off with a 49-33 record. Okay, so although there are a couple of spots in between them, you do also see that when it actually comes to Timberwolves, when it comes to the regular season record, it's not even that big of a difference. But looking at the matchup between these two teams, obviously Minnesota do lead the series 2-1. They are looking to try to close this out as soon as they can and try to get this win here. Now, looking at Lakers, we did see during the Lakers in the playoffs so far this season, they do actually rank 8th when it comes to points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, they do rank 9th, and then rebounds allowed, they do rank 5th. So, when it comes to that, we do very much like the over for someone like Rudy Gobert. Now, when it comes to someone like Rudy, he definitely has been used in occasion. There has been some times where he doesn't get that a lot of minutes or a lot of usage rate out there when it comes to his positioning due to the fact that Lakers have been targeting him quite a lot. But we are expecting if he is going to get a good amount of usage rate out there, same amount of minutes that you should see from Rudy Gobert, we definitely can see him going on the over in this one. Now, when it comes to which one to focus on, I think all has a capability for having him go on the over. Now, Lakers, obviously, they do actually struggle at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position. And that's why we do definitely see Rudy Gobert being able to take advantage of this. Now, overall, we also do see with this that Rudy Gobert, like I mentioned, Lakers do like to target him on offense. And because of that, we have actually seen Rudy Gobert's usage rate definitely been a little bit up and down, but we should see in this one him do a pretty good job if he gets a similar amount of minutes. Now, looking at his 3 games against Lakers, it has been a bit of a tough one because he only got 24 minutes in game 1, had 2 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. And then on top of that, we also had him in game 2 only have 6 points, 6 rebounds, 0 assists, and then 1 point, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. So it's definitely been interesting there. Now, coming into this next one, however, we are expecting, and it is expected, that Gobert is going to have a little bit more usage rate. He has only been playing around 25 minutes per se on his average. If we do see him get his numbers up minutes-wise, we could definitely see a very, very different story. Now, when it comes to someone like Gobert, however, I do believe he has the capability to go on the over only if the minutes are out there and the usage rate is out there. But, that's definitely something that may be announced just before. But as of right now, we still do like the over for this situation here. So keep an eye out for him. But like I always mentioned with these picks that I'm giving out early, you just want to keep an eye out first of what's happening, just before pre-game for sure. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Wendell Carter Jr. So, Wendell Carter Jr., great player for the Orlando Magic, and he's done a fantastic job averaging 9.1 points, 7.2 rebounds, 2 assists, and also had 46% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job there. Now, when we look at him, we actually see him ranking 146 in points, 29th in rebounds, and also 128th in actual assists. So he has done a fantastic job there. Now, when we look at someone like Wendell Carter Jr., obviously they face off against the Boston Celtics. So, as you all know, Boston Celtics do lead the series right now 2-1. So it's definitely been a very, very interesting series. Now, when it comes to Boston and Orlando Magic, as we all know with the rankings, just a quick refresher, Boston did come in second with a record of 61-21, and Orlando Magic are 7th with a 41-41 record. So, technically on paper, everyone is expecting Celtics to, close out this series. So we are expecting Magic to come out and try to get this win, a very, very important win. It is going to be tough if they go down 3-1 for sure. So they definitely are looking at trying to get this win here. Now, looking at the Boston Celtics, we do see Boston ranking 1st in points allowed, 1st in assists allowed, and when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do actually see, Boston ranking 6th. Now, when it comes to someone like Wendell Carter Jr., we do like the under for this situation here. However, I would focus more on points and assists. A big reason being that Boston Celtics don't really do too well in rebounds, and the fact that Wendell is a great rebounder, we have seen him during the series be able to, take advantage of this and do very well in the rebounding sector. So that's why I would focus more on the unders, but strictly just for points and assists. Now, looking at those games, we do see they had 3 games so far against Boston during the series. Now, in game 1, we actually saw him have 4 points, 13 rebounds and 0 assists, so he went on the under in points and assists, but rebounds he was able to do very, very well. He had 16 points in the next matchup, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, so he didn't actually go over on those 2 lines. And then the last game, or game 3, he did have 10 points, 12 rebounds, and 1 assist there. Now coming into this next one, obviously Boston are going to try to push to finalize and get this other win in order to help them kind of pretty much try to close out the series as soon as they can. But with Boston, they are expected to play some pretty great defense on the center, and just in general that we are expecting a lot of the defensive pressure to be on him or Wendell Carter Jr. specifically. Now Boston overall do a great job at actually defending centers. However, I definitely would just focus a lot more on points and assists due to the fact that Boston's rebounding abilities has definitely been a little bit up and down when it comes to consistency, not only just throughout the series, but also during the regular season. So you definitely could see Wendell slip through, in that rebounding category. So points and assists, keep an eye out for the under for those 2 situations, because if the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under there. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Kyle Kuzma. So Kyle Kuzma, great player, as we all know, for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, he's done a fantastic job all season because, we actually do see Kyle Kuzma has actually, averaged 14.8 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and also a 43.6% field goal percentage. So he has done a fantastic job, for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, obviously, these averages are a mix of his time in Bucks and also the Wizards. However, we also do see that he's currently ranked 63rd in points, 58th in rebounds, and 106th in assists, and 100th in field goal percentage. So he did a fantastic job there. Now, when we look at someone, like Kyle Kuzma, especially the Bucks, they do face off against the Indiana Pacers. So it is going to be a very exciting matchup. Now, Indiana currently lead the series 2-1. So, Pacers, like the others, are looking to try to get this win in order to solidify and try to get them, to the next round as quick as possible. But Bucks are going to push for it and try to, keep forcing more games. So it's definitely going to be a very, very interesting time. Now, when we look at someone like Kyle Kuzma, we have seen him have a really good usage rate for this Bucks team. Now, looking at the Pacers really quickly, we do see that the Pacers did rank 4th in the Eastern Conference, while the Bucks ranked 5th. The Pacers had a record of 50-32, and then also Bucks had a 48-34 record. So very interesting there. Obviously, both of these teams are as evenly matched as possible in the playoffs, as they are 4th and 5th spot. And then on top of that, looking at the Pacers, we do see Indiana Pacers. They do rank 11th in points allowed, 12th in assists allowed, and then 13th in rebounds allowed. Now, when it comes to someone like Kyle Kuzma, yes, we have seen him do a fantastic job throughout the season. Now, obviously, since it is playoff time, we have seen a lot of the stars take a lot more of the usage rate. And for this Bucks team, it is definitely Damian Lillard. It's definitely Giannis Antetokounmpo. But coming into this next game, we do actually very much like the over for this situation here. Like I said, every game is very different due to the fact that strategies change, and we are expecting Indiana to come out in this game and really hone in and focus in on stars and try to restrict them as much as they can. If they do that, we are expecting Kyle Kuzma and others to have a little bit more usage rate than they're used to, or more usage rate than they have been used to throughout this playoff series. So we definitely see someone like Kyle Kuzma being able to go over on this situation here. Now, looking at his 3 games against Indiana, it's definitely been a little bit interesting. Game 1, he had 0 stats all around. There were other players in that team, whether it was Giannis, who actually had a little bit more usage rate and took it away from Kuzma. Now, game 2, he had 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. So a little bit better, but still not over on that one. And then game 3, 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists there. So obviously his track record so far in the first 3 games haven't been the best, but we should see that change around in this next one, especially, with the Indiana defense that we are expecting to come out from this team. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the over for Kyle Kuzma. I definitely see more points and rebounds line coming up. I don't know, and I doubt there will be a line for assists, but either way, keep an eye out for all 3. There's definitely a lot of value in there if the line is under his averages.